Thank you everyone for joining our session for the Transportation Communication Standing Committee. A quick reminder for our members, if you would please make sure that your speakers are on mute unless you are about to speak. Otherwise, we'll have a lot of echo and difficult for us to speak. You know, as we come together for this meeting, obviously COVID-19 has changed the landscape of our efforts and even obviously our meeting structure. We're just kind of lamenting that we're not in that great city of Austin having a good time and enjoying the fellowship, but we look forward to us getting together certainly in December in January for our winter meeting.
And Austin next year.
It's going to be Austin next year. Okay. All right. I'll be there. But, you know, as mayors on the committee, we got to examine surface transportation investments, improvements in our communication system. I think it's more vital than ever, certainly the communications component as we transition into a virtual world. I'll just say this one thought for all the mayors on here. And I've been saying this to our local reporters and people who talk to me. You know, mayors were made for this moment. We were made for this. And so I know we're all dealing with our own personal struggles or challenges in our respective cities, but please rely on your fellow mayors here as a sounding board. I know I rely on so many of a handful of the folks here on this call when I need somebody to talk to. So just remember, you have part of this organization is giving you that support system of a peer to sometimes bounce an idea or just cry on their shoulder, and we'll understand. So I look forward to a productive meeting. In the effort of keeping the meeting going, we're going to forego the individual introductions. I think you could all see on the screen who's there, and most of us know one another. But before I begin, I do want to have our esteemed president make some remarks. And if we were in person, I would probably have some witty insult to hurl at him. And I've learned not to insult him when he's going to get the mic after me. So I'm going to defer and not do that this time. But I will say this, you know, in times Mayor Barnett was the right man at the right time for this organization. In my 7 years of being part of this, probably no mayor is better at building relationships with people across the organization, or mayors across the organization, and as we work virtually, that's even become more so important. He's easily the glue that's holding us together. He has this incredible skill of making you think that he actually likes you, even if he doesn't. So I really believe he likes me. He's convinced me, but everyone tells me otherwise based on what he said about me. So, but all kidding aside, Brian, thank you for your leadership. I'm so proud of how you've held this together and how you're going to kind of transition to Mayor Fisher in such a productive manner. So I will yield the floor to you to say a few words.
Thank you, Harry. I certainly appreciate you and your friendship and your leadership as well. And of course, you know, if we were together, we'd obviously be probably a little bit more joking and making fun of each other. Obviously, you still haven't learned how to button a shirt, but maybe you're eight. Listen, to many of your faces, I've seen you over the past couple of days. I've been on every single one of these Zoom meetings, and just want to thank you real quickly. Just thank you for the way you're keeping this organization vibrant and relevant. You know, in crazy times like these, you have to make sure you pivot in a way that you remain important to the people you serve. And we've tried to do that through Tuesday emails, Friday calls, and just the network of faces. I mean, I'm looking across this screen, and just about every one of you here, you know, we have a relationship with, and a funny story and a joke. And it's nice to be able to be with friends as you're going through, you know, one of the most crazy times in really American history. And I agree with Harry on many things, but in particular on this idea that this moment was made for mayors. We know how to pivot. We know how to lead. We know how to avoid the finger pointing and just accomplish what's in front of us. And I couldn't be more proud to serve with all of you and really look forward to the year ahead and even as we transition. Just quickly, a couple of comments. So much of what we do, and Harry was very kind to make some kind comments about my leadership, but basically my job in this endeavor is to connect with the mayors and to support the staff. And our team at the Conference of Mayors is so wonderfully led, of course, by Tom Cochran. You know him. We have to watch out for him because he finally becomes vested with his 401k here at the conference. And so we have to really be nervous about that now. But thank God we've got a 48-year vestment period. But he's been just the incredible leader that our conference has needed. And then the staff. I mean, you see Kevin McCarthy on this call. Kevin, you are the go-to guy in Washington on issues of transportation. And to have your service and your leadership as a part of this organization is a blessing to all of us. And so I think we all recognize, and hopefully we say it often, how grateful we are for a competent, friendly, and agile staff. And we thank you for partnering with us in so many of these crazy scenarios we find ourselves in. I'll just end with a couple of quick comments and sort of some calendar notes. Last Friday, the nominating committee met, led by Mayor LaRosiliere. Sometimes I just do it to make sure I don't forget it. And he did a great job. Second year running it. The nominating committee put forth a slate of new officers, which really is the next level of leadership in our organization. In particular, Second Vice President Francis Suarez, 2 new trustees, Chris Cabalden from West Sacramento and David Holt from Oklahoma City, and then 6 new advisory board members. I see a couple faces on the screen here, including Eric Johnson from the great city of Dallas. Good to see you, Eric. As well as New Orleans, Tampa, Chicago, Seattle, and Huntington, West Virginia. All great mayors, all great cities. And we really appreciate them stepping up into leadership as well. So that committee put forward that slate of recommendations. Those recommendations will be considered on our meeting on June the 30th. And then one more meeting for you to tune into. I sure hope you will. And then hopefully we'll bother you for a little while. But July 1st is our virtual plenary session. I'll have some videos from the conference. I'll give a wrap up of the year. And then Mayor Fisher will give an introduction to where he hopes to take us in the next year. So really exciting times for organization as we transition. An organization is only as strong as its members. And so we appreciate your continued really strong leadership and support of this organization. Finally, just on a personal note, I want to thank you. As my time draws to a close here, I just want to thank all of you for the support, the friendship, the calls, the texts, all the things that you've done to support me. It's been wonderful. I am most happy generally when I'm with my kids and when I'm with other mayors. And I just said my kids because I felt like I have to. That's not really true. It's mostly when I'm with other mayors because it's just a camaraderie and a friendship and an understanding that no one else really shares. So it's been a privilege to serve you as your president. And I look forward to continuing my involvement and engagement. I've watched Steve Benjamin become almost irrelevant almost immediately. I'm going to try to follow in his footsteps and support Mayors Fisher and Mayors Whaley. So thank you for the good work that you're doing. Thank you for the resolutions you're going to consider. I'll make one final comment, and that is the committee meeting at 4 o'clock today is a big one for us. It's criminal justice. The Committee on Police Reform and Social Justice will be reporting out their principles. That's Mayor Lightfoot, Mayor Cranley, and Mayor Castor, which is going to get a lot of media attention because we've been really the only group in America focused on some real tangible things related to social unrest. And so tune into that meeting if you're interested in finding out what's going on with that committee. Mayor Harry, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you always. Well, thank you for the friendship you've shown me. And good luck running this meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And Mayor Barnett, in closing, I'll say, we all heard him say how happy he is when he's with kids and other mayors. What he didn't say is how unhappy everyone is when he's with us. So I had the last word, so I had to throw it in. Hey, take care, my friend, and keep up the wonderful work. You're an asset to our organization. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, first order of business for our committee today, and most important will be the consideration of our policy resolution. You can access the resolutions that we're considering today on the link that Kevin will be sharing. Kevin? Got that there.
Mute off. Mute.
Oh.
Bernsey?
Kevin, you're on mute. There you go. You're back on mute, Kevin. Slow down. There you go.
What?
Talk, Kevin.
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Start
posting it
over.
up. I'm posting it up now as we speak, and each member of the committee has received those in advance.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to talk real quickly procedurally so we can keep this in an orderly fashion. Note that only the mayors who are the members of the Transportation Communication Committee obviously can vote on the resolution, make amendments and formal motions during this session. We will be indicating the votes by show of hands, and so I'll ask you if you are voting and you do a show of hand, please hold your hand up until Kevin and I have gotten the full count, and then we'll let you know when voting is complete. For the U.S. Conference of Rules for mayors, you record a no vote as well, but then you will have a email sent to you so that you can formally record that no vote on the record. And so just look out for an email after the call, particular resolution, so that we can record you. If the resolution passes, and obviously you were a no vote, we want to make sure that you were a no vote for that. The executive committee requires a parliamentarian be present during the consideration of resolutions. So we have Tim. When Tim, just wave, there you go. Tim is our parliamentarian. Any procedural issues that may arise and make sure that we stay on point. So I think it's time for us to we'll begin. We have 8 resolutions to consider. But before we turn to any new resolutions, we'll begin the process. Again, committee members only. And I'll have our vice chair, Mayor Hovland, make the motions to begin our voting process. So he'll make the motion. We'll look for seconds and then have discussion on.
David, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Come back. Come back.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Did you lose me?
No, Mayor Barnett just started talking.
Mayor Barnett.
He didn't follow the instructions.
There
I'll
you
put him
go.
on mute.
He's on silent now. Okay. So again, just to recap, I'll have our vice chair, Mayor Hovland, make the motions to begin to get the ball rolling on our voting, and then we'll look for seconds on the consideration. With that, our first resolution is Resolution 61, is preserving local public rights of way and regulatory authority to most effectively deploy 5G broadband access and bridge the digital divide during the COVID-19 pandemic. The sponsor of this resolution is Mayor Vennis of Eugene, Oregon, and I believe Mayor Vennis would like to say a few words. Mayor Vennis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Would you ask everybody to go on mute? I think I see Brian Waller might not be on mute. Maybe he's in a vehicle, and it's really it's just creating quite a disturbance.
Mayor Vennis, hold on a second.
No, I had it on mute before, and I'm not in a vehicle.
Okay, just again, mayors, if I'll ask you, just check at the bottom of your screen there, make sure that your mute is on so that we can hear Mayor Vennis, please. Mayor Vennis, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see you, even in this virtual format. And thank you for letting me provide a quick summary of Resolution 61. As you have heard me present to this committee before on this topic, the cable and telecom industry continue to wield their incredible power over the FCC at the expense of local governments. Since we finalized the draft of this resolution 3 weeks ago, the FCC has taken yet another action to preempt local government authority. And these actions are coming at a time of great turmoil in our nation, a time that has shown us that telecommunications infrastructure is a basic service for economic activity, education, and operation of government. Our collective future hinges on the ability of more Americans to have accessible and affordable internet access and the ability for local governments to manage that infrastructure accordingly. I thought it would be good to review the basics for those who are new and familiar in this arena. The Home Rule Authority related to managing and receiving fair and reasonable compensation for use of our right-of-way was codified by the 1984 Cable Act and the 1996 Telecom Act. So was local land use authority over wireless facilities. Based on that authority, many cities enacted local ordinances to implement that authority. Despite clear statutory authority, members of the telecommunications and cable industry have sued Eugene 3 times, challenging the city's 7% telecommunications right-of-way fee as contrary to the Federal Communications Act and the Federal Cable Act. They have lost. But as we have seen recently, if the industry can't win through the courts, they will direct their substantial resources toward deregulation via FCC action. In previous remarks to the committee, I shared this new threat cities face from the current FCC through the September 2018 small cell order and August 2019 franchise fee order. Both orders, if left to stand, will drastically impact a city's ability to regulate the use of right-of-ways, as well as receive fair compensation for that use. Both orders are being appealed by a host of cities across the country. And if there are specific questions about these proceedings, our esteemed telecommunications counsel and advisor, Tim Lay, is here to answer questions. A few updates. First, the small cell order appeal has been fully briefed and argued. We are awaiting the court's decision. If local governments win, the FCC and industry might seek Supreme Court review. If the FCC wins, local governments will have to decide whether to seek Supreme Court review. Second, the franchise fee order is being appealed by the Conference of Mayors, Eugene, Portland, and many other local governments across the country. The case is in the 6th Circuit with briefing scheduled to be completed in October. Third, the FCC still isn't done preempting local governments. On June 9, 2020, it adopted another declaratory ruling and notice of proposed rulemaking, this one construing a portion of the 2012 Spectrum Act, which would place still more new obligations on local governments, further constraining our ability to review applications to enlarge or modify wireless facilities. Many of you recently read the NLC's report that 2/3 of our cities have postponed critical infrastructure projects due to the impacts of COVID-19. But that does not stop the industry from continuing their assault on local government's ability to process applications in a safe, prudent, and cost-effective manner. Unfortunately for us, the industry and the FCC are not letting a crisis go to waste. As I have shared with you in the past, we must continue this fight. The telecom cable industries are relentless in challenging virtually all fees or taxes imposed on them by local governments, and the FCC is their strong ally. Even now, in this constrained budget environment, we must be willing to devote the resources necessary to fight back and defend public rights and property at both the federal and state levels through appeals and supporting the federal legislation introduced by our friends in Congress. And finally, but most importantly, this is no time for cities to buckle to industry pressure. As mayors, we must be united in our opposition to federal giveaways of local public property to favored industries. Resolution 61 sets the course for our collective efforts. Please join me in supporting this action. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you, Mayor Venus. Is there any other mayor who would like to address the committee on this item? Okay. Before Mayor Hovland provides a motion on this item, just in case you don't have it handy, in your chat, there's a link for all the resolutions. So just in case you don't have that handy, it's in your chat room there. It's a PDF version. Mayor Hovland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to the chair's directive, I would move amended resolution number 61 for consideration.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have Mayor Coos as a second. Any conversation, any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Please show if you are in support, please raise your hand. Hold your hand up for a minute, please, for a little bit. And so, and then if you are opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. So we have some folks on the phone. Kevin, how do we register their vote? Do you just get a verbal from them?
Mayor, if they're committee members, we should ask them to weigh in. David, our assumption is that committee members are already in the video.
They're all
screen.
on video. Okay. All right. So then the ayes have it. Very good. Thank you.
Mayor LaRosiliere,
We'll
this
move
is Mayor
to
Waller.
item-
Count me in. I'm a yes.
Said that. Who was that?
It's Mayor Waller.
Brian,
Mayor Waller's a yes. Thank you. So Mayor Waller, after we do after I do the visual, just jump in and say yes or no on your votes. Okay?
No problem.
Thank you. All right. Okay. We will move to resolution number 62 in support of federal efforts to promote digital equity. Mayor Benjamin?
Thank you. No, thank you. It speaks for itself. I mean, obviously, the challenges many of our communities have seen in the era of the pandemic just even underscores the challenge of digital divide that we had before the pandemic. And in our state alone, many of you that might have a mixture of highly urbanized cities, suburbs, and rural areas, we've seen a significant number of our children, upwards of 40,000 of them, who have not been in contact with their schools or their educators since they left school in the wake of the pandemic several months ago. It underscores the importance of ensuring that we use this as a new opportunity, the same way we approach the advent of telephone cooperatives to connect communities and rural electrification back in 1936. We all know very much so all the work that we've done as a conference on automation and AI, advanced machine learning, that this is the new frontier. And that if in fact we're going to address some of these historic challenges that we face, that we're facing now on the economic front, the public health front, and certainly the challenges that we're seeing around race and law enforcement policing, that we've got to very first in 2020 in America pursue digital equity. So that's the basis behind the resolution, Mr. Chairman. I think you're still muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other mayor who'd like to speak on this item? Seeing none, Mayor Hoagland.
Pursuant to the chair's directive, I would move resolution number 62 in support of federal efforts to promote digital equity.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mayor Davis.
Mayor Davis, to second that. Any further discussion? Please vote. Raise your hands.
Yes.
And the ayes have it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of personal privilege. If you'd also record me as a yes vote on Mayor Venice's resolution, I wasn't sure if I was still a member of the committee, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So so please record me as a yes vote.
Rumor has it you're a member of every committee. You're just like de facto everywhere, omnipresent Benjamin.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is the parliamentarian.
Yes.
Yes. If you would please call for the for any votes opposed, even if it seems like it's unanimous, just so we can get it in the record.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've recorded the ayes. Do we have any noes? Any nays? Thank you. Okay, that passes. Oops. Get my screen back here. Excuse me, my screen just went crazy.
What is the screen here?
Yeah, I thought that was me. Is that?
Oh, Bergie, what's going on?
We're viewing Rodney Craig's screen early, it looks like. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So we will now move
Thank you, whoever did that.
to resolution number 63. Supporting urban aerial mobility infrastructure and local authority. As you saw in the memo, I shared an amended version of this resolution. Is there any mayor who'd like to speak on this item? Mayor Adler, please.
You're on mute, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just real quickly, I have a proposed amendment to the first whereas clause. I think it's a friendly amendment. I'm bringing it on behalf of the Mayor of St. Petersburg, Rick Kreisman. Just wanting to make real clear that when we're talking about air mobility infrastructure, and we're talking about advanced air mobility and urban air mobility, as mentioned in the first whereas clause, that we're also talking about EVTOLs, which are electric vertical takeoff and landing. Items probably already covered, but Mayor Kreisman wanted to make clear. So it would be an amendment in that first whereas clause that would include, after advanced air mobility and urban air mobility, would say including EVTOLs, which are electric vertical takeoff and landing. And then 2 lines down in that same first whereas clause, where it says, with the intent of providing intra-urban, it would add the phrase and intra-regional air. It's those 2 changes to the first whereas clause, pretty simple. I think it's friendly. It's just designated to ensure that electric vertical takeoff technology is covered as well. Mayor Kreisman's amendments may seem small, but it's important that cities recognize that this technology is going to be coming too. It's going to be regional with a range of up to 60 miles. So it's something else we need to take a look at as well. I would make that amendment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mayor Adler. Any further discussion on this item?
Chair, I have a question about the language of the
we have
amended.
Say that again, Tim.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is the parliamentarian
motion.
again. So the amended language, I believe, is visible to everyone in the proposed amendment in the chat feature. If you click your chat on the bottom of the screen, you should see the language that is proposed to be inserted. So at this time, that is the pending question before the committee. So committee members may debate, and when there's no further debate on inserting those words, then we can take a vote on whether or not to insert those words. And then when
I have to confirm that there's no further debate on the language
on inserting that language, and then we put that language to a vote.
Okay, everyone. So it's in your chat, in your chat space there. Is there any further discussion on that, on including that language? So do we need to vote on that, Tim?
Well, to make it quicker, you can simply ask if there's any objection. If no member objects, we don't have to vote.
Any objection to the language? I believe Mayor Hancock, you had your hand up. You did want to speak. Is that correct?
Yeah, just very briefly, not related to the amendment, though I think the amendment is fine. Just to this resolution, which I think is an important resolution with regards to these aerial units in our cities. You might recall when under Obama and Anthony Fox, Secretary Fox, I had the honor of serving as the first mayor ever on the FAA Management Committee. As part of that role, I was asked for a mayor to serve on the Rulemaking Committee for aerial devices. And we chose Mayor Ed Lee out of San Francisco, who served until his untimely death. Your first be it resolved, I think, calls for engagement of mayors on the FAA Rulemaking Committee here, which is critically important. And I just wanted to underscore that we make sure that we follow up on that, no matter who's in office, that we have a mayor participating in the rulemaking, because that's where our interests are carried. But outside of that, folks, I tell you, all we got are aviation experts, pilots, drone experts, FAA bureaucrats who are making these rules without any insight from municipalities, and having sat there many a times, I had to pull them back and require them to consider what it's like from a municipal standpoint as these rules were being made. So I just wanted to underscore that, Mr. Chairman, and to make sure that we are aware and in tune with that, and make sure we push it from this committee standpoint for our engagement and involvement in making these rules.
Duly noted. Thank you. Thank you so much for the comments. Okay. Are we ready to vote, Tim? Can we vote on that? Oh, we have another speaker, Patrick. Mayor Wohan.
I'm sorry, are we still talking about the amendment to the first whereas, or we're talking about the whole resolution now?
Well, there's no objection to the amendment. We're about to go to vote on the resolution. So if you have any further comments on the resolution, please speak.
In terms of the resolution, I think there may be the second be it further resolve clause refers to reauthorization of the Invest Act. And I think that the original language reauthorization of the FAST Act is appropriate, because the Invest Act is the current bill that's before the House of Representatives, but it's not passed yet. I think we're talking about reauthorization of the FAST Act.
So I'm sorry, are you making an amendment or are you making a correction? I'm not sure.
I think, well, I guess it would be, it's a technical correction, but if it needs to be made as an amendment, then I can offer it as an amendment.
Kevin, do you have any feedback on that?
I think, are you referring, Mayor, to, this is referring to number 9, paragraph 9?
Paragraph 8, I believe.
All right. I think where I see invest, I think the language, you're correct, Mayor, it urges the reauthorization of the Invest Act. It should be the Conference of Mayors urges during action on the Invest Act to include. So I can make a technical amendment, but you're correct. It shouldn't reference Invest Act because that's not been enacted yet. But the Invest Act does have language in it relative to the debate we're having. So I think it's the use of the word reauthorization that is inaccurate. I think it's a technical correction. Mayor will make that. Okay.
Thanks.
So, yeah. So, Mr. Chair, as long as everyone is clear on the correction and Kevin knows where it needs to be, if there's no objection, then we can take care of that.
If everyone understands and no objection, Kevin will make that correction in the final drafting of the resolution. Okay, I think we're ready to vote. Mayor Hoagland?
Mr. Chair, I think Mayor Craig had his hand up.
Oh, did you? Okay, I did not see that. Thank you.
Let me unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Very good. I was just going to comment on Michael Hancock's reference to a mayor being involved. I was working closely with the mayor of San Francisco when he unfortunately passed. My background is with the FAA. I was a manager of operations at Chicago Center. So we were having some nice dialogue and building some consensus around having influence from the mayors in that committee. So I just wanted to thank Michael on that behalf. So just to follow up, thank you.
Any further comments before we vote? Mayor Hoagland?
I didn't hear your previous comments.
No, I just repeated it. I was on mute. We'll get this down.
Mr. Chair, I would move the adoption of amended resolution number 63, supporting urban air mobility, advanced air mobility infrastructure and local authority.
With the correction and the amendment.
Technical corrections, yeah, as amended.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second from Mayor Adler. Committee, please vote. Raise a hand. Get a visual here. We got all the ayes and who are the nays? Any nays? And the ayes have it. Okay. We will move to resolution number 64. In support of state and local efforts to create fairness and consistency for peer-to-peer car rental companies and services. Mayor Benjamin.
Sure, no, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I first of all, I want to apologize to all of you for having your inboxes and voicemails pile up in the last 24 hours.
Thank you.
Over this resolution. But it's pretty clear and I think consistent with what Rod and Michael, Mayor Hancock had to say earlier. This is just, I'm just asking for mayors to have a seat at the table. The peer-to-peer industry, most of us have never had to engage with it, haven't had to engage with the industry, and they haven't been involved in USCM over the last 5 years or so. They've been around as $1 billion industry, using a tech platform to facilitate in the sharing economy. But the industry, while doing business in our cities, pays nothing towards the common good. We're talking about using city infrastructure to do everything from execute their rental transaction, maintaining the cost of the roads. It's interesting that, and I'll say this, and I won't go long, and we'll have a chance to, I'll talk about one proposed amendment to the resolution that I hope will be considered and supported by my colleagues. But it's difficult to advance the idea that you don't believe that mayors should have a seat at the table. This resolution is just very clear. It doesn't disavow or speak against the benefits of the peer-to-peer industry, and nor does it say that the industry doesn't play a vital role in additional resources to our constituents. It just says that mayors and cities deserve in good faith to decide how and under which terms to regulate the peer-to-peer car rental industry without waiting for preemptive statutes being proposed by the industry every single day in the states in which we operate. And I say that not as a matter of opinion, it's a fact. Those laws are being passed, they're being proposed in many of your states right now. We've been down this road, we've done this dance when people have said, no, don't get involved, don't do this, don't do that on a local level. And then at the very same time, they're asking our legislators and our governors and others to preempt our ability to manage our own destiny. So that's what this is about. There's one amendment that would be consistent and accepted by INCOIL, dialogue with their CEO, the National Council of Insurance Legislators, which has model legislation that in the last now therefore it be resolved line. I would add the language that this does not apply to non-insurance, all non-insurance. This only applies to all non-insurance regulations. So most of us on the local level do not get involved in insurance regulations. Those tend to be state functions. I'm perfectly fine with that amendment, but wholeheartedly support. We're in interesting times and challenging times, and those are referenced in several of the letters I received from the industry over the last 24 hours or so. But it also means that we don't need to continue allowing the state or industry, regardless of which industry it is, to continue to tie our hands behind our backs, encourage us not to be involved on issues of import to our citizens, while at the very same time seeking very restrictive state laws that would tie our hands and preempt us from acting on the local level. So I move the approval with that specific amendment, Mr. Chairman, and happy to take some questions and have a discussion.
Thank you. Tim, can you
Yes.
jump in?
Yes. So what we need to do first is just make sure that we have the exact language and where it's going to go, so that we have clarity on where it's going to be. I don't know if Kevin is able to enter that into the chat.
The exact language, and it's literally 3 words. In the now therefore it be resolved line, the actual action phrase of the resolution, after the word consistent, makes consistent, plug in all non-insurance. That's it, all non-insurance, those 3 words, all non-insurance regulations for all car rental companies. That is the only amendment, and INCOIL, the CEO, has made it clear to me that they are in full support of the amended version of the resolution.
Okay, so now that we have the location and the language, once again, you can just ask if there's no objection. This will be inserted.
Is there any objection to the amendment? We see none.
All right, good.
We will open the floor for discussion and conversation. None? Okay.
You want to mute Mike?
Mr. Chairman, if I will,
Hancock, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And to my friend, my good friend, Mayor Steve Benjamin, we've been talking about this and communicating about it. And we, the concern we have here in Colorado is that this resolution may go counter to some of the law in the state of Colorado. We've had that confirmed by our lawyers here. And so while I support the theory, some of the theory in which Mayor Benjamin is moving with this resolution, I can't support it now because of the challenge that it may be contrary to some of our laws right now. And we got a lot more work to do here. I think this is just like when we had our TNCs come on board, as well as our housing, our Airbnb pieces. There's a lot of discussion that needs to occur with regards to this industry and its interaction with our airports. You know, I support our airports vehemently and do everything we can to make sure that everybody's in alignment here. Our airport actually just developed a partnership with a peer-to-peer association because of the belief that it does help reduce congestion at the airports, as well as is a new innovative model that is growing. I don't think Mayor Benjamin is against that. What he's saying is that we need to make sure there's parity and fairness with regards to the laws and the rules of interacting with our airports and in our cities, which I do not disagree with, but also that the cities are at the table. And so just as we did with the TNCs, the network companies, we ought to call for them to sit down with mayors in a fair, open conversation that allows us to jointly develop local regulations together with regards to these peer-to-peer. It is a new innovative model, which we do support, but we need to make sure we're at the table. So just to share why we here in Denver could not support the resolution at this time, but look forward to further conversation on it.
Thank you, Mayor Hancock, for your comments. Any other mayor would like to speak on this? Mayor,
Mr. Chairman.
Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just really appreciate Mayor Benjamin putting this forward because it's absolutely critical, and echo Mayor Hancock's comments. This is really about cities being at the table and cities being engaged in this work moving forward. I always tease Mayor Adler. I'm not sure which of us is more disliked by our state legislatures, but we're dealing with very difficult wins with more and more state legislatures preempting cities and excluding cities and mayors from being at the table with these issues. And so I think I wholeheartedly support the resolution and encourage our colleagues to join us. It's important for cities to be engaged and at the table as this proceeds.
Thank you. Mayor Wojahn.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to echo the comments and appreciate Mayor Benjamin bringing this issue forward. I just want to say, I think I want to echo some of the comments made by Mayor Hancock and raise similar concerns about state law in Maryland. I appreciate the need to have mayors at the table, but I don't feel comfortable voting in support of this resolution at this time without further information and understanding.
Thank you, Mayor Hardy Davis.
Thank you, Chairman LaRosiliere. As someone who spent 8 years in the legislature and now have spent the past 5 years, 5 months, and 25 days at the local level, I will tell you that this resolution is extremely important for us to get behind it. The issues of preemption are front and center with us right now, whether it's my former colleagues in the legislature trying to dictate how we build houses and our multifamily units, to us not being at the table when it comes to this conversation. And I would urge our colleagues to give strong consideration to making sure that we have a seat at the table in terms of any regulatory actions as it relates to this matter. It is extremely important for us to do that, and I urge strong support as someone who spent 8 years in the legislature.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other mayor would like to speak on this item?
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, first of all, you love when Hardy tells you exactly how long he's been the mayor. It tells you how much he's enjoying his job. That's a whole nother story. at your direction, you and Tom and our staff and whatever Mayors Barnett or Fisher decide, I'm happy, maybe along with Michael and Patrick, whoever you guys determine need to be at the table, sitting around with industry, talking about how we move forward. I'm more than happy to play an active role in facilitating that conversation. You guys know me, I'm progressive pro-business, and I'm pro-tech and everything else. But we're at just a very different time in our history right now, where gerrymandered state legislators are just kicking us in our butt left and right. We can't have it anymore. But happy to be at the table at your discretion, facilitating a meaningful conversation.
Thank you for that offer. Okay, I think we're Mayor Benjamin actually made it in the form of a motion. Did you get that, Tim? Is that correct? So
yeah, we
we'll
can
just
go ahead and take a vote.
We'll take a second. We'll accept a second.
Second.
Who was that? Mayor Coos? Got a second. And I'll just say this before we vote. In Texas, there's a big thing about freedom, and we cherish that. On the local level, we always talk about local authority. I call it local freedom here to govern. And so whenever we have that opportunity to be at the table, we must press for that. So no further comment. We will vote. Those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, and those are the nays, please raise your hand. Be recorded. And the ayes have it. Thank you. That item passes.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I have to go back. I missed resolution number 32. Is that correct, Kevin?
That's correct. That's
Skip
correct.
over that. So we're going to swing back to 32. I apologize. Go back to 32. Get it up here. Pulling it up. Give me a second. 62. So Kevin, the 32 is not on this list here. I'm not seeing it. I see 61.
Look on page 10 of the script, Mr. Chair.
Page 10, okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Okay, resolution number 32, reduce the economic, noise, and health impacts of overflights on cities from the implementation of Next Gen's airspace redesign. This resolution is shared with the Environments Committee, and do we have any mayors that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, Mayor Hoagland will entertain a motion.
All right, I move the acceptance of resolution number 32, which deals with reduction of the economic, noise, and health impacts of overflights on cities from the implementation of Next Gen's airspace redesign.
Do we have a second? Mayor Hancock, second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Those are in favor, just vote. If you're a nay, please vote. The ayes have it. Okay. Now we're back to 66. Supporting investment on bridges. Now, Mayor Hoagland, I understand you'd like to speak on 66 and 67 in conjunction.
Mr. Chair, I'm just looking at this. Where it says,
next up.
Yeah, 65. 65 is the bridge.
I'm sorry. I'm off my rhythm here. Oh,
Sorry.
there you go.
Typo there.
Sorry about that.
There was a numeric trick involved there.
Is that new math? All right, let's go to 65. Supporting investment of bridges. 65, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any mayor that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, Mayor Hovland?
All right, I would move the adoption of resolution number 65, which deals with supporting investment in bridges.
We have a second.
Second.
As Mayor Mcgee, second. If all in favor? Raise your hand. All opposed? All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now we'll move to 66. Please, Mayor Hovland, proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, in discussions with Kevin Mccarty and indirectly the chair, I was asked to look at whether or not we could take resolution number 66 and resolution number 67 and combine them into a single resolution. Resolution 67 dealt with support of federal infrastructure investment to help local communities. So I looked at those two resolutions and then did some backgrounding research and then did a red line version, which you have in front of you, which combines both 66 and 67 into a substitute resolution number 66. We have cleared it with the makers of 67, which the primary sponsor was Eric Garcetti and also Rick Kreisman from St. Petersburg. And so this is the essence of the merging of those two, the subsumption of 67 into 66, and for your consideration here. So substitute 66 would replace old 66 and old 67.
Substitute. So the new resolution 66 will replace what was 66 and 67.
That's correct.
That was shared with in your packets. Any mayor would like to speak on this item?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
Okay, so what we're going to do from a procedural standpoint here is substitute the proposed 66 with this new version, and that'll be put to a vote. And if that is adopted, then what we'll do with 67 is just postpone it indefinitely, since its content has been incorporated now into 66. So the easiest way to do it, if there's no debate, no controversy over the language, if everybody's happy with it, is just to put that substitution to a vote as replacing 66 and adopting it altogether. So if there's no objection to that, then you can simply take a vote on the new proposed one being adopted in place of 66.
Right. So I don't believe we have any further discussion. So Mayor Hovland, if you'd like to make that motion.
Mayor Venice has a comment.
Oh, Mayor Venice, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just jumping in at the last minute. I just want to thank you again for considering this resolution and give you a short update, and a special thanks to Mayors Adler and Johnson for co-sponsoring this. As we heard from Chairman DeFazio last year in Hawaii, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee has been working diligently on the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Act, this year called the INVEST Act. Many of you have already reviewed this transformational legislation that increases funding for local communities and takes a major leap forward with investments on climate strategies, as well as linking climate policy with infrastructure investments. Lastly, I want to recognize the efforts of Kevin Mccarty and the conference in negotiating a more favorable formula mix for local governments. Please support this resolution as a means to secure greater federal investment in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Venice. Mayor Adler.
Just real quick, I want to thank Mayor Venice for your leadership on this issue, and specifically your work with Chair DeFazio on behalf of the conference. There's not many things that are considered in the Capitol that have as big an impact in one place as this infrastructure funding has. And just by way of aspirational, I just let everybody know that the new Irish government just recently passed their version of this and put 20% of its transportation budget to cycling and pedestrian infrastructure in their country. 53% went to public transportation and 27% went to automobile infrastructure. Just interesting thing to note, maybe someday. But for right now, reauthorizing, getting this money, and then the special direction to increase the percentage going to the MPOs is obviously real critical for increasing the local control and the priorities that are found locally. So thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on this.
Thank you, Mayor Adler. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, Mayor Hoagland.
I would move to accept substitute resolution number 66.
Do we have a second? Mayor Coos, a second? A second. All in favor, please vote. Raise your hand. All opposed? And the ayes have it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman, just one final step in the process is just to put to a vote to postpone indefinitely number 67. So we have that taken care of.
Yes. So now Mayor Hoagland, you're going to make a motion.
I'll move to indefinitely postpone proposed resolution number 67.
Who would like to second that?
I'll second.
Mayor, who is that?
Scott Singer, but
Mayor
maybe
Singer.
others.
Mayor Singer second. All in favor? All opposed? And that item carries. The ayes have it. Okay. Let's see. We do have a new resolution. All those. Let's see. I've got my numbers, my pages here out of place. Yeah. At this time, we do have a new resolution that's been brought to the committee, and to consider a new resolution, we have to have approval of 2/3 of the members of the committee today. Presenting that's going to vote. Also, member mayors may speak on the resolutions. However, only standing committee members may actually vote. I'd like to, at this point, I'd like to call on Mayor Craig to speak on his resolution that he's adding to our for our consideration. Mayor Craig?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And this resolution I've been working on for some time and pulling together a resolution to acknowledge the 33 regional commuter rail systems, respectfully of Amtrak, but there's benefits available to Amtrak many years ago in the late 70s, early 80s, that when there was only in existence one commuter rail. Today, the 33 are coming together and seeking same type of benefits for publicly funded in our commuter areas. Give you an example, Chicago Metro, which is a board I sit on, we're down 95% of ridership right now. We have concerns that we could run out of that COVID money helping to support our existence in the middle of 21. So I'm asking for greater support for commuter rail. I think the time is right, and it's quite extensive documentation. There's the component of public money. We feel Amtrak has some benefits on rail charges. We'd like to benefit that. So we're looking to balance overall. So this is my first shot at a resolution with the committee, and I'm excited to hear other comments, but hopefully for the future, we can work closely together. Before I say any more, I would like to acknowledge Chris Coons, his appointment to the Amtrak board. Congratulations to Chris.
I missed that. Who got appointed to the Amtrak board? I missed that.
Chris Coons.
Oh, Chris. Congratulations.
Our mayor from Normal, Illinois.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mayor Craig. Is there any mayor would like to comment or ask some questions of Mayor Craig? Seeing none, Mayor Hovland?
I'd like to move for consideration what is characterized as new TNC resolution number 1.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second from Mayor Mcgee. No further, any further discussion? All in favor, please vote. All opposed, please vote. And the ayes have it. Thank you. And that was more than 2/3 of a vote, right? We had to have, was, Tim?
Yes.
It was more.
Yes, we're fine. We actually didn't take the vote separately. So on the, which is fine because the committee agreed to consider it. But on the next one, we'll just want to get the permission to consider it first. Just do a quick show of hands.
Okay. So permission to consider the next resolution. Raise your hands if you're.
Okay. And then any opposed?
Any opposed? Okay, we'll entertain the next resolution, please. Was there another new resolution?
My understanding, Mr. Chair, was that was the only.
That was the only one. Okay, I thought Tim was signaling to me there was the next one. Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought there was a second one.
Okay, no worry.
Right.
Okay,
so we allowed it, but it doesn't exist.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the portion, the informative portion of our meeting now, where we have a couple of speakers. But before I do that, I think Mayor Holtman, you have a couple words you'd like to say before we move on.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this gentleman that's been running our meeting with that big word Plano right over his head is because of term limits in the last part of his career as a mayor anyway. And because of term limits, this is our last business meeting with our chair, Mayor Harry LaRosiliere, who has been just a wonderful, wonderful chair. And I think is well deserving of our virtual gratitude and appreciation for a job so well done as the chair of the largest standing committee of the USCM. For me personally, and for all of us, a big round of applause. That big smile you see on his face, that whole countenance, that wonderful smile, that countenance, that bearing of his that is so open and welcoming. And tells you that this is a person who is interested in knowing you, is interested in caring about you as a person, is interested in knowing what you think on an issue and embracing what you think and having it enter into every consideration that he makes. Everything about him just sort of envelops people. And it's a wonderful characteristic that came obviously from his parents and his upbringing, but he's a wonderful human being and has been a great leader for us. And Mayor LaRosiliere, you deserve every good thing that comes your way. Thank you so much for serving the USCM and being such a wonderful friend and great person for all of us to enjoy over the years.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Hovland. And he is officially known as my hype man now. I appreciate all the kind words. Let's move on. You're making me blush, and that's a hard thing to do. Okay, we're going to move on to Mayor Johnson and speak. This is a perfect example of how the fraternity of mayors really brings us close. Mayor Johnson was a state legislator in the state of Texas for years. I knew him, and then he graduated and came to the big leagues and decided to be a mayor. And talk about that fellowship and the mentorship. We, as our cities deal with what we're dealing with, we talk and text and communicate all the time and lean on each other. We have late night texts where we're just saying, "Oh, what a day!" And some of the things we make sure we hope that there's no open meetings and requests on what we say to each other. But Mayor Johnson, if you would please proceed and introduce our speakers and our newly minted advisory trustee. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership on this committee and on the nominating committee, and just all the ways that which you have shown Tremendous leadership in this organization, but also on a personal note, just tremendous mentorship and friendship to me. You're a great man and you're a great friend, and I'm just so deeply appreciative of you and everything you've taught me. It's been a rough first year as a mayor, but you've helped me get through it, and you've always been there for me every step of the way. And I just want to tell you how much I love you, brother, and just what a great job you did for the city of Plano and for our North Texas region. You're a great leader and a great man, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. Thank you.
No, and I know these have been difficult times for all of us mayors, actually, as we navigate the unprecedented challenges of COVID-19. And while I wish we could all be together physically today, I'm grateful for the chance to talk to you all about some of our long-term priorities. So as the vice chair for transit, which is I guess why I've been asked to say a few words today, I wanted to focus my very brief remarks today on just two issues. First, the renewal of the federal surface transportation law, known as the FAST Act, which you've heard reference to today. And then I want to talk a little bit about how we can make public transit safer as we continue to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. And I won't really be doing the talking on there. On that topic, we have representatives of the American Public Transportation Association who are going to join us for that discussion. So let me get started with the status of the FAST Act and renewal efforts that are underway in Congress right now. The law provides, as many of you know, about $60 billion every year in federal investment in our highways, bridges, intercity passenger rail, and public transit, of course. The FAST Act expires this year on September 30th. So at a minimum, Congress is going to need to extend that law into next year, which leaves final action on the matter, if that's how it happens, for the next Congress to take. At the same time, efforts are underway right now in the House to renew the law for 5 years. And I've advocated very strongly for renewal with our congressional delegation here in Texas. And I'm hopeful, I remain hopeful that we can get something done. Last week, the Transportation Committee, the Transportation Infrastructure Committee acted on about $500 billion, 494, I think to be exact, $1 billion renewal that provides for some hefty funding increases for our highways, transit, passenger rail. The Senate, however, has only acted on the highway title, and they're awaiting action in 3 separate Senate committees right now. So we have seen some clear progress, however, on our conference priorities. Most notably, the House is moving forward to dramatically raise the federal commitment to public transit, which is great news. Investments that are long overdue, and they're going to be very important to building more sustainable transportation futures for all of our cities. And I'm going to make sure that we keep you guys apprised of any developments on this renewal. I especially want to recognize and thank Eugene, Oregon Mayor Venice for her work with her congressman on these issues, a very important member of Congress, perhaps the most important member of Congress for this purpose, Chairman Peter DeFazio. I want to also thank my Congresswoman, Abrams Johnson, and others on that committee for their leadership with respect to this legislation. And lastly, I want to thank the representatives of the American Public Transportation Association who are here with us today. They've been championing stronger federal commitments to public transportation for years, and I greatly appreciate their efforts on our conference's behalf. So with that, we're going to shift the discussion to the topic of how to make public transit services safer in a COVID-19 environment. And I'm pleased to welcome today Nuria Fernandez, the current chair of the American Public Transportation Authority. Ms. Fernandez is also the general manager and CEO of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority in San Jose, California. And she previously served as administrator of the Federal Transit Administration under President Obama. Ms. Fernandez has themed her remarks for today around the topic of transit recovery and restoration, restoring public confidence as we build back better, which I think is a very aptly titled set of remarks. So she's joined today by the lead APTA staffer on COVID-19 recovery, Mr. Brian Roberts. So mayors, please join me in welcoming Nuria Fernandez and Brian Roberts to our discussion today.
Thank you. And Nuria and Brian, before you begin, I note to mayors, as they're speaking, if you do have some questions that you may want to ask, please put those questions in the chat room, in the chat board, and at the conclusion of their conversation, time permitting, we'll address a couple of the questions. So please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, mayors. And I apologize, I can't see me. I don't know if you can. For some reason, my video is not connecting. But in the interest of time, I want to thank Mayor Johnson for his introduction. I truly appreciate, start video. Let's see if that works. There we go. Thank you for your introduction. I'm here. I'm real for your introduction. Just one point of clarification. I served as the acting transit administrator under President Bill Clinton back in the 90s. But I appreciate you sharing that background because it's so important given today's conversation. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize my friend and colleague, Gary Thomas, who is the president CEO of DART in Dallas. DART has certainly been a national leader and innovator in public transportation, particularly in the mobility as a service program with their card and mobile payment system. So that is one of the many opportunities that we see that innovation in transit as we're looking at our recovery. These has been very challenging times for transit agencies, as you all know, and I want to recognize the women and the men at the front line of our transit agencies that have been driving our buses and trains, that have been cleaning and disinfecting throughout this entire pandemic, because we continue to recognize our role as essential, and therefore there is no time for rest. It's important to us that we provide service that puts front and center the health and safety of our riders and our workers. As APTA chair, I established a high-profile transit recovery and restoration task force that is supposed to be developing tools for our industry so that we can continue to assure the public that they can safely turn to transit, so that we can also build consensus among the transit agencies on cleaning protocols and social distancing. And then as important is public messaging on all that we're doing to protect customers and employees. And then one more important piece that is relevant to today is that we are also proactively engaging with cities and communities to ensure that transit continues to play a very prominent role in the recovery and the equitable service to our communities. So our industry is essential. It's playing an essential role on the national stage on the economic recovery. And we are very, very grateful to all of you and the U.S. Conference of Mayors for the long-time partnership that APTA has enjoyed in working with you, because we need each other's support as we look to how we build back better from the current pandemic. And we see this as an opportunity to build better streets and better mobility networks, better access, which is really the backbone of public transportation. We need the sidewalks that can get people to our buses. We need the access to get people to our rail systems. As we look at this opportunity in a broader sense, looking at the resiliency in communities and also to advance the social equity. As you know, public transportation is the greatest equalizer. It is open to all, no matter your condition in life, your race, or your ability. And it's an opportunity that we at the American Public Transportation facilitate. We use our platform to share that message. Cities have long been the economic powerhouse of our American economy, and that has been facilitated by public transportation and having an extraordinary network. Transit's recovery is part of that blueprint for the economic recovery. So as we work together towards the goals of the cities and the goals of public transportation, we have produced industry guidelines to assure the public, once again, that they can ride transit and do so with full trust and confidence that it's safe. So what I would like to do, Mr. Chairman, is to share with you, allow for Mr. Brian Alpers, who has joined me today. He is APTA's Director of Safety, and he's going to be speaking more broadly on the technical efforts that we are undertaking to keep transit clean and safe. So with that, Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Nuria. Can everybody hear me fine? Great. So I'm going to talk today about two specific white papers or standard type documents that we've created at APTA. So we recently released in late May a white paper on a pandemic virus service restoration checklist. The checklist was intended to serve as a single reference point to guide the development and restoration of transit service in the post-pandemic phase. So we call it the Pandemic Virus Restoration Checklist, or the PVSRC, and it outlines the elements in this checklist that agencies can use to include, and it provides a template example. And also in the checklist is a section on cleaning and disinfecting. So that leads me into the most recently produced white paper. We just published a white paper earlier this week, and it was in conjunction with the Recovery and Restoration Task Force that Nuria just talked about. It's called the Cleaning and Disinfecting Vehicles and Facilities White Paper. So in this white paper, we brought together a group of many different properties. It had 34 different participants on our technical advisory working group from 24 different organizations. So it included large, medium, and small transit agencies, as well as bus and rail. And we also had consultants, contractors, manufacturers, and academic folks on the panel as well. So when we brought the group together in April and May, we discussed current industry practices for cleaning and disinfecting transit vehicles and facilities in response to a pandemic virus. In the white paper, it focuses on the mitigation of contagious virus spread within public transit systems through various maintenance, cleaning, and disinfecting methods and products. In the white paper, we also talk about fogging, which is a typical cleaning procedure that many transit agencies use, disinfecting, and then we also talk about cutting edge disinfecting methods. So recently, as many of you probably heard in the news, New York City Transit, they have piloted a UV light disinfection pilot. And we also have a few other agencies throughout the country, including Trimet in Portland and GCRTA in Cleveland, that have also piloted UV light. So we have some information in this white paper about these new and cutting edge different technologies that people are using. In the white paper, there's sections on cleaning and disinfecting products. So the EPA puts out a list N that lists out all the different products that people use, and that's what most transit agencies in the United States go to find out what they can use to disinfect. We also talk about personal protective equipment, so PPE that people should be using when both disinfecting and cleaning their systems. Also transit vehicle and facility cleaning and disinfecting processes, management of infected areas, and then testing. So ATP testing is a type of testing that we talk about in there, where people can look to see if there is any certain areas are properly disinfected throughout their transit properties. So as I mentioned, this white paper was produced and published up on the APTA website at www.apta.com. It's front and center up there. And we also, as Nuria alluded to, we also have a lot of other information on our website. We have a COVID-19 resource page that we created. That's a great resource for many of you in your transit systems in your cities that you can go to and learn all kinds of different resources that we created from APTA. We also have different transit stories. So the systems in many of your cities have actually sent in videos to us and other information that we've put up there that we're very proud of to show as our APTA members. And it also has information from the CDC and others as well. So at this point, I can take questions along with Nuria. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Mayors, do we have any questions? I don't see any in the chat room. I'll just scan if anybody raised their hands for any questions or comments. Mayor Mcgee.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Just a quick question. I'm assuming all of the different transit agencies have have gotten this information made available and are the 2 white papers available to us as well?
Yes, absolutely. And we'll make sure we get them along to you guys, and they're up on our website as well.
Any further questions or comments? Nuria and Brian, thank you. Thank you for your time and joining us today. And we appreciate the work that you do and the information. And we certainly look to use you as a resource for our organization and our city. So again, thank you. And Mayor Johnson, thank you as well for making that introduction. We will move on to Patrick, Mayor Wojahn. Wojahn, am I saying that right? Wojahn or
It's Woyan. You're close.
Wojahn.
Woyan, yeah.
Mayor Wojahn, he has a few words he'd like to say about a webinar that that's coming up.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor LaRosiliere. I apologize for any background noise you might hear. It seems that one of my neighbors decided to take this moment to grind a tree up in their backyard. So there's I can hear it. I don't know if you all can. But I wanted to talk about a webinar. So I appreciate this is complementary to the presentation from APTA and the focus on transit, because another thing that communities around the country right now are confronting is a real increase in the amount of people who want to get out and walk and bike. And active transportation has really skyrocketed. I don't probably all have read the news reports about bike shops not being able to keep their stock and inventory, their inventory in stock, and people really just needing to get outside and get exercise, and also essential workers having to walk and bike to get to their jobs and needing to do so safely. And with that increase in usage and participation, our infrastructure, our walking and biking infrastructure, has really been strained, especially when people are needing to do it in a way that's socially distanced, that protects their health and their safety. So many communities around the country have come up with some innovative ways to address this, to respond to this, and in the past few months, we've heard about communities like Oakland, California, which has created 74 miles of what they call slow streets in their city, where they opened up their streets themselves to walking and biking while still accommodating local traffic. Other communities have set aside street space for things like restaurants to be able to put out tables and chairs. Communities are really getting innovative in a way and finding ways to rethink their street space. And what we have decided to do is working with Kevin to put together a webinar to highlight some of these different practices around the country. We've invited the mayors of Burlington, Vermont, and Duluth, Minnesota, to participate in this webinar and talk about what they've done in their communities, and also just have some discussion and share ideas with what other communities are doing. Also, as we think about moving towards, as we are reopening right now, and we're moving towards the new normal, thinking about how we can permanently rethink street space in order to accommodate. As people, I understand that our transit agencies are doing everything that they can to make sure that transit is safe. People are still going to be a little bit nervous and concerned about getting back on transit. At the same time, we don't want to overrun our street networks, and we don't want everybody getting back in their cars all of a sudden. So accommodating safe ways, walking and biking is two ways that people can get around, and more people are turning to it. So let's talk about how we can accommodate it safely. So keep an eye out for it. We haven't set a date yet for that, but sometime within the next couple of weeks, we should have an announcement about when that webinar will take place.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing that and participating. Very good. Okay, we will now move on to our final speakers. Thank you, Mr. Greener and Gaynor, for your patience. Our final speaker is Ted Greener, Executive Director for Public Affairs, and Michael Gaynor, Assistant Vice President of Field Operations at the Association of American Railroads. Mr. Greener will lead off the remarks, to be followed by Mr. Gaynor. Mr. Greener has led the freight rail industry partnership with the conference of recent years, and he wants to tell us about what they do and how they can be a resource to us in our respective cities. And then Mr. Gaynor will speak briefly to an anniversary this fall and how mayors and leaders can celebrate in a bipartisan way to govern privately owned freight railroads. So please, gentlemen, if you would proceed.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all of you for making time. I know that you're very busy. I'll date myself here in a little bit, and I'll say that I did play baseball with Kevin's son a long time ago, and now I'm fortunate to work with him on a daily basis. He's definitely the best in the world of transportation policy, and I'm grateful for his leadership alongside the chairman and the committee. As a reminder, the Association of American Railroads, we serve as the primary advocacy group for America's private freight railroads, and that includes companies such as BNSF, CSX, Norfolk Southern, and Union Pacific. We're also proud to call Amtrak and a lot of transit passenger companies such as Metra, which I know people like Mayor Craig are intimately familiar with. They are also members of AAR. I know that you guys are dealing with a lot of transportation issues, so I just wanted to take this opportunity to simply remind you all that the AAR, either directly or through Kevin, is a resource for you all. Certainly, we play a different role in the transportation sector than some of our peers, including passenger railroads or even trucking companies, and tend to be sometimes a little bit out of sight and out of mind. But we also recognize that there are always challenges. And so we just want to reinforce our commitment to being here and hopefully working as collaboratively with you all as possible. And so to that end, and before my colleague Michael from our sister organization Go Rail discusses our primary area of business, I did just want to touch on the fact that despite the real challenges presented by this coronavirus, we have continued to operate at a high level and continue to move really crucial goods to and through and from many of your communities. We've done so certainly with one very central goal in mind, the safety of our employees. And I would say that, you know, our industry is blessed with a dedicated employee base where a very strict adherence to rigorous safety protocols is in fact the norm. And this diligence has provided very encouraging results with the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases among freight rail employees to be relatively low to date. And that's something that we'll continue to work diligently on. But we also know that much of this is due to leadership from folks such as those on this call. And we're grateful for all of the work that you all have done to work hand in hand with federal guidance and with private enterprise, including the railroads, to ensure the movement of goods. Also, you all did mention several times, obviously in this call, matters related to the current surface transportation bill, which is now obviously part of a larger infrastructure package in Congress. We do have policy positions on that, including some that do run counter to the goals stated in the rail title specifically. So I'll share that information with Kevin and hopefully that can make its way to you. And if you have any questions, I'll be here to answer those. But I'll turn the floor to my colleague Michael, who again is here to discuss our primary purpose with you all.
All right, well, thank you, Ted, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. We certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And just by way of background, I know that some of you recognize Go Rail, but by way of background, we're a national nonprofit, and we really have two goals. One is to build awareness for all the public benefits of rail, and then the other is to build awareness for legislative issues in Washington that would impact freight rail service and investment back in your communities. This year is a pretty significant year for the freight railroads. They are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Staggers Rail Act. And that was the act of Congress that partially deregulated the railroads in 1980, same year as trucking and about 2 years after the airlines were deregulated. Prior to that, the federal government virtually controlled the freight railroads. And so you had the rail customers on one side, you had the railroads on the other side, and in between you had federal bureaucrats with system maps and price sheets deciding where the trains went and what the cost of moving goods was. That system did not work well for the railroads. They were not revenue adequate under that model, and therefore they couldn't afford to reinvest in the freight rail infrastructure at appropriate levels. And over time, that infrastructure degraded. It became unreliable and, quite frankly, unsafe. And so by 1980, about 20% of all rail miles in the U.S. were in bankruptcy. And so Congress passed the Staggers Act, and that moved the railroads from a government control model to a market-based model, where the market determined where the trains went, market demand determined what the rail rates were, and future market demand determined where investments were made in today's rail infrastructure. And that shift in policy really ushered in the rail renaissance that we're living in today. Over the last 40 years, the railroads have invested $710 billion in private capital back into the freight rail infrastructure, making today's freight rail infrastructure the most modern, most efficient, and most safe on the planet. In the last 5 years, the railroads have invested on average about $25 billion a year into the rail infrastructure, which is really more than any state DOT. Average rail rates have been reduced by nearly half over the last 40 years, and that means when you adjust for inflation. And so that means today's rail customer can move almost 2 cars for the price of one 40 years ago. And so the Staggers Act has been good for the railroads, it's good for customers, and it's been good for America. And we want to take advantage of this anniversary to remind the current class of Congress what their predecessors had done to fundamentally change this industry, and why it's important to maintain a market-based approach to economically regulating the railroads. And so to that end, we're working on a joint letter to Congress where we're working towards 1,000 state legislators, local elected officials, chambers of commerce, and economic development organizations signing on to this letter that will commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Staggers Act, and then also call on Congress to maintain that same market-based approach. I want to thank members of this committee from North Little Rock and Huntington, as well as Mayor Gilbert on the advisory committee, who have already signed on to the letter. And I believe that Kevin will share with you a link that will provide an electronic link that will take you to a copy of the letter so that you can read and review that, and also provide the opportunity to sign on electronically if you wish. And would ask that you take that under consideration, and then also ask that you consider sharing that link with additional members of the conference.
Thank you, Ted and Michael, for your presentation. We're a couple minutes over, but we'll entertain one question if someone would have a question or comments before we adjourn. Yeah, I think I see somebody. Mayor Hovland.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I just wanted to ask Mayor Vinnis to keep us advised as to how we can help. She's right there with the Chairman DeFazio, Chair DeFazio, and to the extent that we can help. I know Kevin is great assistance on the Hill, but keep us in mind too, that we're willing to help any way we can with our own congressional delegations. But I wanted to ask the folks that were talking about transit, what they've learned from transit operators around the world, particularly in Asia. You know, you think about South Korea, where 70% of the people get to work on transit, and most people live within 500 yards of a transit station. And they haven't had nearly the sort of impact that we've had from a COVID standpoint, much more effective from a management standpoint. What can we learn from them and other countries in Asia, like in Vietnam or even Singapore, where it's highly dense and they've hardly had any COVID deaths, but people are using transit and there's a high level of density? What can we learn about them about how to re-instill confidence for people that are commuters that would be using public transportation in our country?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. And, you know, it's interesting that we have been focusing primarily on the national challenges, but we have also been reaching out to our counterparts in the international arena through UITP and some of the other associations to collect some of those very best practices. One of the areas that we have identified is social distancing. And here in the US, we're practicing the 6 feet social distance as per the orders of our public health officers. However, in Europe, particularly in all of the countries in the European Union, with the exception of the UK, they're using 1 meter, 3 feet social distancing. In addition to the facial coverings and the constant cleaning. So there are a number of things that we are going to be bringing back to our own practices here. Now, as to why they have less infection than we do, I think that's a broader question that I would defer to the CDC and others. But I think that in terms of what they're doing on their public transportation systems and what we're learning and what we can continue to learn from them will be part of our collection of best practices so that we can roll these out at a national level.
Good. And to the extent you learn those best practices, if you could share them with the USCM folks so that we can all see them too, that would be very helpful. Ms. Fernandez.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments before we adjourn? Just scan the room. Okay. No further business. Did somebody raise their hand? No. Okay. So if there's no further business, we will adjourn the meeting. And again, Tom, I thank you so much for everything you do. Your staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership on these issues, and we look forward to working with you and saluting you as you go through your next career. And we hope you will stay in the public.
In the public, what? Just in the
Period.
public in general.
Yeah. we need people like you in the public right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey guys, everyone be
I think
safe.
everybody else got what I was saying. If y'all want to elaborate or amplify, I'd appreciate that. I'm open for more praise.
Now they voted me to speak on their behalf, and so we're the wonderful words of for you and your staff is coming from me because you do an incredible job. And again, I've shared this with Tom. I was elected in May of 2013, and 2 months later, I had my first conference, and I was wide-eyed, and I didn't know what was going on. But I found myself among a group of people that have been doing it some for many years, and number of you were nice enough to let me latch on and tail and follow y'all and learn. And I've taken so much back to my city as a result of the peer exchange and the fellowship that I have with you fellow mayors. So anyway, we're gonna have a big party in January. I can't wait. We'll see you then. Okay, everybody, please be safe, and remember, mayors were made for this moment. What we have before us is not a burden. It's our gift. It's our gift to our cities. Your integrity, your honesty, your knowledge on the topic, your intent, all that is what your city needs right now. Kind of drown out all the other noise and just listen to that inner voice, okay? Because your city needs you. So thank you very much, and y'all be safe, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.